Hi friends, welcome to Spiritual Conversation. I am Jacqueline Claire. I'm really excited about today's episode, a bunch of interesting ideas I'd like to share with you. So really the premise is our femininity or our masculinity, our biological sex, but also the energy and the potential with which that carries, the yin of a yang that we have, and we could call this just our sexuality. Is this one of our gifts from God? And is it also something that we actually should be affirming in children? Nowadays we've come out of this age of gender neutrality. That was sort of more the environment that I grew up in, and the modus behind gender neutrality was to not limit our little boys and girls to feel like they needed to be a certain way or end up, having a certain life or a certain profession or lack thereof. So we went from gender neutrality to now this either erasing of man, woman, mother, father, the reality of biological sex, to also this like massive confusion that you could be a man or a lamp or a dog or a woman, whatever you want to be. And it's all very confused, and it's very disruptive to family structure, which is the nucleus of society. So, is our sex a gift from God? Should we affirm our children's sex, their femininity, their masculinity? And is there, in fact, something that heteronormative folk can actually learn from the Pride movement in their heightened emphasis on that aspect of their being? Maybe. So let me share with you where these ideas have come from in this most recent case. So wonderfully, this random pastoral pamphlet published in 1990 came into my life, and it's called Handing Down Our Gift, Bringing Out Manhood and Womanhood in the Home. And this priest shares these radical ideas that the femininity and the masculinity of our male and female children, or female and male children, which he calls their sexuality. Again, I'm saying for the first time, not to be confused with the act of sex or anything like that, but just their biology, but also the way that our biological sex translate into energy and the way we do things, and the things and the people and the activities and the emotions or whatever it is that we're attracted to. Is this part of our children super important? It's a fundamental part of who they are. And is this something, just like with the development of their physical capacities, their intellectual capacities, their humor, that we as parents and a community and a world should nurture and encourage? And the day when the little girl starts wearing dresses, or she's an adolescent and she starts wearing makeup and doing her hair, not that you have to do those things to be, quote, feminine, but when girls spontaneously start to make those choices to develop into this womanness, that brother should be taught very firmly that he is not to make fun of this. That this is the flowering, her attempt to flower into this fullness of part of her being, her womanhood, and vice versa with boys. And it's actually more challenging with boys because the leap from boyhood to manhood is less glamorous and a little rockier, but the end result is so wonderful. We have to nurture it. So let me go into this idea a little bit more in the way that Charles A. Gallagher, Father Chuck, shares this. So why is this important? Well, it's a fundamental part of who we are, right? It defines our chemical makeup, our hormonal balance, and the way we're going to experience life. and that we want to feel rooted in that, we want to feel comfortable in that, but primarily that our femininity or masculinity is a gift from God, and it is a gift back to Him how we use that. That in fact, though our sex is intimately personal, it's actually not simply a private matter. It is actually highly relational, and it actually is most expressed, or maybe only expressed, I'm not sure, in how we relate to the world around us. That in each other's presence, the most complete expression of this would be in a marriage between a man and a woman, but it also expresses in all of our relations with our community, with our work, with our service, that there is a dance of this masculine and feminine energy that we love in each other. I love your masculinity. I delight in this energy that is a balance to mine. And then I feel, for example, the most radiant and full in my femininity and my womanhood in the presence of the masculine. And so it's a delight in oneself, a delight in the other, and this overall being illuminated in the presence of each other's energy, in the gifting of each other's energy. And that the tasks that we do, housework and earning a living, that these things are asexual, that is not what we're talking about. Like if you put on an apron, then you're feminine. If you go out and make money, you're masculine. That those things are asexual. It is the way that we relate to each other and appreciate each other. And as parents, we, as in all ways that we will observe our children and see the way they're trying to develop and help them develop in that way, in the most wonderful way, we see the unique ways that they're expressing their masculinity and their femininity. So we don't impose this and force them to wear pink or whatever if they're girls, but we also don't hinder them from wearing pink if that's what they want to do. Little girls want to be ballerinas. It's very instinctual. Or they love long hair. They love lipstick. And again, not that we let them wear lipstick as children, but we see that and we nurture that. And maybe the way the femininity comes out is how gentle they are with little brother, and how much they want to mother and take care of little brother. And maybe little boy's masculinity may or may not come out in his attraction to trucks or G.I. Joes, but maybe it's in how he wants to protect mom in the grocery store, and see it and be like, thank you for protecting me. Thanks for being my little man, that warm encouragement of their manhood and their womanhood. And this is very interesting when it comes to the point of adolescence. This author makes the point that if this wonderful sex identity, the sacredness of it, is affirmed just naturally from the very beginning, and it's something that's embraced in their home, that we embrace this balance of energies, and we're not all trying to be the same. We love how we're different, and the gifts that we give to each other, the protection and the strength, or the nurturing and the love, whatever it is, the beauty and the stability, that as they come to adolescence, rather than it being some crisis of a bursting sexual identity and sexuality and sexual energy, that we've been preparing for that. And though they will still go through all those hormonal surges and changes, they will in fact be less vulnerable to promiscuity and so forth, because they're not starving for someone to recognize and affirm their identity as a man or a young woman. And on a similar note, he makes the case that it's one thing what we say and what we affirm. It's a whole other and more important level of what's demonstrated in the home, that mom and dad demonstrate this love and appreciation for the spiritual and energetic contributions that they both make. And so the little girl sees the way her mom radiates in her womanhood when she's in the presence of dad's masculinity. How there's something that is fullest in her when she's in the presence of dad, and the way that dad appreciates that. And then also, so the little girl sees that, right? And then she sees, oh, I want to be like mom because I want someone to look at me the way dad does, and I want to flower and radiate the way mom does. And then the little boy sees the way that mom looks at dad, and he sees the example of somebody as fully living into his masculinity as he can, and he's like, oh, I want to be like that, and I want to protect mom, and I want to look at a woman like that. Like, it's these unconscious developments that happen for the children, where they start to form the image of what they want to grow into. And very importantly, because there's this richness in this dance of the masculine and feminine, the man and the woman in the home, they don't have to go out of the home to understand what a man and woman is, because they'll want to know, and they will, and then they will be vulnerable to the projections of the media, which are very gratuitous. They can be very nasty. It's very licentious. It's very, loose morals and promiscuity. And so they get the idea that, oh, that's what a woman is, or that's what a man is. And this author refers to the difference between this beautiful sacred sexuality, this masculine and feminine energy, versus sexiness, lust, lewdness, all of these things that are actually power struggles and actually manipulative. So the children will have this positive example that is not merely words about guarding your sexuality or growing into this or that, but rather they'll see it and they'll have this deep understanding of it and what it is, and they won't have to look to their peers or the media to answer those questions for them. And speaking of power struggles, he goes on. It's a really rich book. I wish more of you could read it. I don't think that it's readily available. But he also shares that if this balance is either hidden in the home, like there's a gender neutral vibe between the parents, that the kids will have that vulnerability to look outside the home. And also if there is an imbalance where perhaps the feminine is not fully expressed and she's taking on a lot of the masculine drive of the family, that men are in a way more than happy to allow that to happen because it is a release of their responsibility. But then it throws off the balance of what the children experience and what they see. And so little boy is deprived of his image of what a masculine man is. And he will instinctively reject and resent dad for being a wimp, for not fulfilling these archetypal resonances, energies. And so he'll see dad as this wimp, and then he'll also understand mom, aka women, to be this force that runs a show, that bosses us around, that tells us what to do. And then they will go into life seeking women like that, expecting women to be like that, but at the same time being a little boy on the inside who resents that, but doesn't have the ladder of ascent, the example, to be different, right? So it gets stuck in this power struggle and other dynamics like that, potentially. So it's very interesting. And so I want to bring it back to this idea of, should we actually, does the trans movement, which I believe any part of it that is not organic and has been pushed is actually very corrupt and strange, and I am not in favor of it. However, I ask, are they actually accurate in the idea that as parents in a community that we should affirm the sex identity of children and to help them grow into their fullness and be the greatest contributors to this world that they can be? You know, like a tree, you know, this our biological sex is this low chakra, but it's like the roots of a tree. And does it affect the strength of our character and how we give back to the world and how we praise God? And also something to learn from just the LBG, TQ, but whatever, the whole pride movement, which I also am not endorsing, but I wonder if that has partly sprung from a genuine and unhealthy lack of celebrating our sacred sex energy, that our sexuality, which we all have a biological sex, and it is paired with a certain archetypal energy. If in, hetero, religious, family-oriented society, we have not celebrated that enough. We have tried to whip it and tame it or hide it or segregate it, and that in fact, like a breath, like the roots of a tree branching out into leaves, that we should actually be embracing this and integrating this and celebrating this in ourselves and in our children, knowing that this powerful cosmic energy, these archetypal energies, are beautiful parts of who we are, that they aren't just expressed in the bedroom, that they permeate the way we engage with people, the way we do things, the way we cook a meal, the way we tend a lawn, the way we serve our communities, that this energy is a part of it. Our femininity and our masculinity is a gift to the world, and it is absolutely something to relish in and celebrate personally and openly. So that's my thought for you today. Let me know what your reflections are on this topic. If you have any experience with this with children, or learning to breathe in and appreciate more of your gift of masculinity or femininity. Again, I'm Jacqueline Claire. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. And check out the links below for my original artwork or ways that you can support this channel or nab my children's book, Noble Beings, Spiritual Handbook for Children of all ages. All right, my friends, until next time, I wish you the best for playing your unique part in making this world a more radiant place. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.